A misty old 1800s village at dusk, cobblestone paths, winding through ancient cottages with flickering lanterns surrounded by dark forest. In the heart of a forgotten valley, hidden beneath endless layers of fog, lay a village that didn't appear on any map. Its name, if ever spoken, had long vanished in the whispers of the woods. The villagers were peculiar, pale, quiet, and always watched the forest's edge after sunset. When Eleanor Whitmore, a historian from Boston, arrived to document the ancient settlement, she noticed one thing immediately: no birds, no laughter, and an overwhelming silence that felt staged. A tall, decaying three-story Victorian house on a hill, vines choking its wooden frame, broken windows, and a crooked weather vane spinning in the wind. Locals warned her never to go near the withered house on Hollow Hill. They claimed it was cursed, something about a witch or maybe a demon that dwelled within its walls. But Eleanor was drawn to it, as if the house itself was whispering her name. She ignored the warnings, packed a notebook, and walked through the long-forgotten trail up the hill. The interior of a haunted Victorian house: dusty floors, torn curtains, a piano, missing keys, a single candle flickering on the mantel. The air inside was colder than outside, and it smelled like rot and burnt herbs. The door creaked closed behind her by itself. Her lantern flickered. There were no signs of anyone living here, yet the tea set on the table was warm. A child's laughter echoed from upstairs, but Eleanor was alone, wasn't she? An antique mirror reflecting a dark female figure with hollow eyes behind the protagonist, who isn't in the actual room. While exploring the hallway, Eleanor spotted an ornate mirror hanging crooked on the wall. She peered into it and saw a woman standing behind her. She turned sharply. No one. She looked again. Still there. The woman's face was smeared, eyes black as coal, and lips moving, but no sound came. Eleanor stepped back. The reflection remained still. An eerie nursery room with broken toys, a rocking horse gently moving on its own, and faded wallpaper peeling away to reveal symbols underneath. She found a room with a rusted chain keeping it shut. Something was inside, scratching, breathing. She managed to pry it open. Inside was a child's room, untouched by time. On the wall, drawn in chalk, were dozens of symbols, protective seals, exorcism glyphs, and one written in fresh blood. That night, Eleanor didn't leave the house. A close-up of a woman's face with black veins spreading from her eyes, looking into a cracked mirror, her expression twisted in pain and confusion. The next day, villagers noticed Eleanor walking differently. Her eyes were darker, her voice lower. She claimed to feel someone else in her head. She spoke ancient words in her sleep. She stood in the village square at midnight, chanting to something in the woods. The church bell rang, though no one had touched it in years. A desperate priest holding a burning cross, shouting prayers inside the haunted house as shadows crawl on the walls around him. Father Caldwell, the village's last priest, attempted an exorcism. He walked into the withered house with a crucifix and a Bible, murmuring prayers. He never came back. Only the sound of flames echoed across the valley. The next morning, the house stood untouched, but his cross was found bent on the doorstep. An old photograph on a dusty table, showing Eleanor now standing with villagers from the 1800s, aged and smiling strangely. Weeks passed. Eleanor vanished. Search parties found nothing, except an old photograph in the house. It showed villagers from the 1800s, and Eleanor was among them, wearing old clothes, smiling unnaturally. No one could explain it. The house waits still, the door is unlocked, and every year it calls someone new. The storm had passed, but the silence that followed was more unsettling than the thunder. Clara stared at the old wooden floorboards where the whispering had last echoed. The room felt colder, the air thick with dread. She moved cautiously toward the trapdoor in the pantry, the one her great-uncle had forbidden anyone from opening. But curiosity burned brighter than her fear. As she pulled it open, the rusty hinges shrieked like something alive. A foul smell rose up from below. Damp earth, rotting wood, and something metallic. Blood? Her lantern flickered violently as she descended the creaking stairs. Beneath the house was a stone cellar, filled with shadows, strange markings on the walls, and a single, ancient mirror covered in cloth. The whispers started again, clearer this time. She's watching you. Don't let her out. Clara approached the mirror, hand trembling as she pulled the cloth away. Her reflection stared back, but then blinked independently. Her own face smiled back at her, while she stood frozen in fear. Then the mirror shattered inward, not out, as if something inside was trying to escape. Clara screamed and fell backward. From the shards, a thin, pale hand reached out. A voice followed, gentle yet sinister. You freed me. Now we switch. The light went out. Clara awoke in her own bed. Or so it seemed, but everything felt off. The room looked the same, yet there were no sounds from the village, no birds, no wind, just silence. She rushed outside. The world was drained of color. Every home stood still, windows open, but empty. And in the middle of the village square stood a man, tall, dressed in black, his face hidden beneath a wide-brimmed hat. He raised a finger and pointed toward Clara. You've brought her back. She remembers this place. Suddenly, every door and window in the village slammed shut at once. Clara returned to the house. On the kitchen table sat an hourglass, never seen before. The sand inside flowed upward instead of down. Her eyes widened. Beside it, a note in old handwriting. When the last grain reaches the top, she walks freely. Panicking, Clara grabbed the hourglass, intending to smash it, but her hands froze midair. She wasn't in control anymore. Her body trembled, and then the house groaned as if alive. Whispers returned, louder, overlapping in dozens of voices. Join us. Join her. One must stay. One must stay. Clara began hearing scratching inside the walls. First in the living room, then the bedroom, then right behind her. She pressed her ear to the wall and heard weeping. Suddenly, a crack appeared. Not in the wall, but in reality itself. A thin slit opened, and she could see through, into another version of her house, twisted and darker. And there she was. Herself, but not her. That version of Clara was smiling and holding something in her hand, a human tooth. As the reversed hourglass neared completion, the door creaked open, but not by Clara's hand. The man in the hat stepped inside. His face was now visible. Hollow sockets, no eyes, skin like wax. He looked at Clara and whispered, She chose you. You stay, she walks. The mirror downstairs glowed again. Clara ran to it, but reflection was now the village. Burning, people screaming, the faceless man standing above them all. And behind Clara, in the real world, the footsteps stopped. The voice said, Time's up. Days later, the villagers returned, or rather people claiming to be villagers. None remembered Clara. Her house was boarded up, sealed, marked as cursed, but at night. And some said they could hear weeping from the cellar. And sometimes, when children walked too close, they'd see a pale hand tap against the window from the inside.